From the High Definition Production Center of Troy University's Broadcast and Digital Network at Troy, Alabama's International University, this is Troy TrojanVision News.
Welcome to Troy TrojanVision News for November 30th, 2016. I'm Rachel Wilkerson.
And I'm Samantha Charles. Thank you for joining us this evening. Current university policy forbids pets on campus grounds. However, the Student Government Association is hoping to make a change to that policy with the legislation passed last night. Kyle Shook has the details.
Some new faces might be seen on campus soon, but these Trojans have 4 legs and fur. At Troy Student Government Association meeting Tuesday night, SGA members passed a bill allowing dogs and cats to be on campus, provided they're on a leash. SGA member Caitlin Smith breaks it down.
So this bill is essentially lifting the ban of pets on campus that we currently have. The ban came to us in 2014 by President Farrell, and it wasn't ever really enforced, and we've had a lot of complaints because we have administration having to tell people that they can't have their animals when it's really not that big of a deal. And so this is just essentially lifting that ban and creating a leash law. So you can bring your dogs or cats on campus as long as they're leashed.
There are some restrictions as well. The bill will only allow dogs and cats, and they will not be allowed at large gatherings. And while the bill passed, there was some opposition.
Well, I think one of the biggest concerns is the fact that the ban that's already on campus is not being enforced. So by lifting a ban that's already not being enforced, what's going to happen if pets are roaming free and there actually is disruption caused? Who is going to be enforcing the fact that there is no enforcement? So I think there's just a whole lot of blurred lines that may come across and not a lot of clarification on what's considered a pet. That was one of the concerns that I had in the bill. It says, oh, we're allowing leash pets on campus. Can you bring your pig on campus and it be leashed and that be considered a pet?
Smith hopes to present the bill to university administration before the end of the semester. Kyle Shook, Troy TrojanVision News.
Once again, pet legislation must be approved by the university in order for it to go into effect.
A Troy University fraternity wanted to shed light on domestic violence issues and how they can relate to college students in a forum last night. Brianna McMillan has the story.
This week on campus, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity held a Women's Appreciation Domestic Violence Seminar where guest speaker Jessica Childs delivered a powerful message on the prominence and signs of domestic violence.
Maybe be aware of, what's normal in a relationship and what would maybe not be considered normal. Any anger issues or anything like that, look for those types of things. And definitely if they see those things, talk to a friend or family. And then ultimately if the situations escalate or the situation gets worse, definitely seek other forms of help.
Childs, a professor at Troy University and also a survivor of domestic violence, stood courageously in front of students and told her story about how she overcame domestic violence. She informed the students on signs of domestic violence at an early stage. At the seminar, students learned early signs of domestic violence in relationships, such as extreme jealousy, possessiveness, control, and blaming the victim.
The purpose behind the event was to, as we said, is domestic violence awareness seminar, was to bring awareness to the fact that domestic violence is real and it does happen. And a lot of people are suffering from it. And, I would like to get the opportunity for those who may be suffering from it, who aren't secure or don't feel comfortable speaking out about it, to give them an opportunity to see someone who has also suffered from it, to share their story, to kind of possibly help them with whatever they may be going through.
The seminar was concluded with this closing thought. Looking back, adversity does make you stronger. Never let it bring you down and continue to strive for better things. For anyone who is in a domestic violence relationship, you are encouraged to contact Troy University Student Counseling Services or the national hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. Brianna McMillan, Troy TrojanVision News.
Alpha Phi Alpha's next event will be Stroll Like an Alpha tonight at 7 in the Natatorium. Vocal jazz was on display last night, courtesy of one of Troy's student groups.
Frequency put on a concert of jazz standards and some more familiar tunes. Chelsea Law has the story.
On Tuesday night, folks packed the choir room to listen to some smooth jazz from Troy's very own vocal jazz group, Frequency.
I think jazz, in a sense, helps not only myself, but the school in a way that there are many people who don't get to hear this kind of stuff. So I think it kind of broadens people's views and broadens their outlook on everything in life.
Spirits were high and bodies were swaying as the vocalists sung tunes that were both familiar and unfamiliar. They got the crowd very involved and enthusiastic.
Jazz is very different from different other genres, and so it's really cool to see the way that jazz moves through people, not only just through like the way that they think about it, but the way that they can feel it. And jazz just kind of has like this soul and this rhythm to it.
To effectively create a highly marked concert, Schaefer tells us how close of a relationship the group has to have in order for it all to work.
You really got to take the time not only with yourself but with your group. And whenever you get into the groups, it's really kind of important that you not only create that relationship with the music but with the other people in the group. So if you don't have that relationship, then the way that frequency works doesn't really exist.
Even though there were some low notes sang during the event, the concert ended on a high frequency that got the audience to their feet. Chelsea Law, Troy, Trojan Vision News.
Up next for the School of Music will be the Sounds of the Season concert Thursday night at 7:30 in the Claudia Crosby Theater.
Now, the latest in Trojan Sports on Trojan Vision News.
Good evening, Trojan fans. What a weekend it was in Trojan Sports. And in tonight's segment, we're going to take a road trip out west to California and Hawaii with the men's basketball team. But before we go too far, first let's make a quick stop on the 21-yard line in Bobcat Stadium in San Marcos, Texas, where our story begins.
From Bobcat Stadium, Connor White, great protection. Steps up, throws over the middle, it is intercepted.
The Trojan football team is now 9-2 on the season after its 40-7 Sun Belt Conference win against Texas State. The Trojan defense came ready to play, holding the Bobcats to 256 yards of offense.
I thought we were in complete control the whole game. We stopped the run, 2.8 per rush. We created 2 turnovers. They really struggled on third down. We had good gap control the whole time.
And on the offensive side of the ball, junior running back Jordan Chun moved into a tie for third place on the Troy career rushing touchdown list after finding the end zone once against the Bobcats. But even with the success on offense, Coach Brown says there's still room for improvement.
I wasn't pleased with our rushing offense. I didn't think our offensive line or our running backs played very fundamentally sound in the run game. Too many drops. You know, we probably left 100 to 125 yards in passing out there just because of drops.
After Saturday's win against the Bobcats, the Trojans are now 6-1 in conference play, with their sights set on Georgia Southern.
Got a lot to play for, and I think anytime at this part of the season when you've got something to play for, that means you've played some good football, and we have, and I'm proud of our guys to put us in this position. We know what's at stake.
And what exactly is at stake? Well, with the win on Saturday against Georgia Southern, the worst-case scenario would be the Trojans would share the Sun Belt Conference title with App State and Arkansas State. Either way, with the win this weekend, the Trojans could potentially be co-champions of the Sun Belt Conference. And now our road trip continues. Let's check out the men's basketball team. The Trojans never seemed to leave the court last week, playing 3 games in 5 days. First, the Trojans fell in a road matchup to Eastern Illinois, then hopped back on the plane for San Francisco, California. But it wasn't a very sunny trip to Cali, as the Trojans fell to San Francisco 79-67. And the road trip does not stop there. The Trojans then flew from California out to Hawaii, and with the Troy team loaded with depth, the Trojans defeated the Rainbow Warriors 65-63.
We need our depth to either be, it can either be a strength or a weakness, and we need it to be a strength, obviously, and it was against Hawaii because we played 5 games in 3 games in 5 days, and flew a lot of miles in between there. And for us to have enough energy to win that game at Hawaii on Friday night against a really good team just was a testament to our depth because we played 12 guys on Friday night. I don't think if we had that depth, I don't think there's any way we could have won the game.
And now, after 3 games in 5 days and all of those miles up in the air, head coach Phil Cunningham and his Trojans will finally return home this week to Trojan territory with the matchup in Trojan Arena against South Florida on Thursday night. Tip-off for that game is set for 7 p.m., and it will be televised on ESPN3. And with the men's team in action all of last week, it actually feels like it's been too long since we've seen the women's basketball team take the court. The last time we saw the reigning Sun Belt Conference champions take the court, they were down in Daytona Beach, Florida, putting up over 90 points against Villanova and Loyola Chicago and improving to 4-1 on the season. And now, Trojan fans, we only have to wait a few more days to see these Trojans back in action. Troy will take the court in Trojan Arena on December 4th against Alabama State at 3 p.m. And like the men's game tomorrow night against South Florida, this December 4th matchup for the women's team will be televised on ESPN3.